The Guardians played home run derby on Monday, another series win and some serious momentum as Cleveland invades Detroit this week. Off to a good start there. We're talking about home run history lessons and lineup changes on today's Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Cleveland, this is for you. Guardians win the first leg of the Ohio Cup. They're invading Detroit on all ends right now, basketball, baseball. Good weekend for Cleveland sports in the end, and a start of a good week for the Guardians. Starting off your week, I hope, with Locked On Guardians, the only daily podcast in the Guardians that covers your team from the majors, the minors, the draft, and everything in between. That's Jeff Ellis, host the show for 8 years. I've been here with Jeff for 4 years. I'm Justin Lada. We've both been covering the minor league system for the Guardians in the draft for 19 years. Jeff, today's show, we're going to talk about some important hitters that are getting into a groove after the home run derby broke out on Sunday. I'm going to test Jeff's history lessons on home runs. I don't expect him to.
I think it's going to go poorly.
Test. I do too, but honestly, it's a hard test. I had to look it up myself. I didn't have the answers. I wouldn't have done good either. We'll talk about lineup changes for the Guardians and rolling into Detroit with a lead and the Ohio Cup. In today's episode of Locked On Guardians, brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Right now, if you're a new customer, you can bet just $5 to get $50 in bonus bets. If your first bet wins, head to FanDuel.com to get started. Boy, it was nice to have a game for a change on Sunday. I know Wednesday was a stress-free game, a lot of offense. Guardians did it again on Sunday. Honestly, the Guardians' offense for the weekend, for the most part, was pretty good. I mean, you ended up getting 6 runs on Friday in a game you should have won. Guardians should have swept the series with better decisions and better timing. Had 7 on Saturday and then 10 on Sunday. That's a good offensive weekend against the Reds team that, doesn't have the best pitching staff right now, especially out of their bullpen. But you take your walks and you come up with big hits and big home runs on Sunday, and you get steady, solid starting pitching and good bullpen pitching from everybody except for the Rule 5 pick, which probably shouldn't have been in the game at that point. But that's for another segment. But what a fun weekend, especially a fun Sunday for Cleveland overall. Guardians played home run derby. The Cavaliers kicked the Detroit Pistons in the stomach pretty hard. I had fun.
Yeah, it's listen, I have a lot of family in Detroit. I have always enjoyed Detroit sports, but last year there was no more annoying fan base in our comments than the Detroit Tigers, who some of the fans went out of their way to tell us how they were going to crush Cleveland at everything, in Ohio at everything. So it was just I was enjoying the comeuppance for those people. Again, if it's your team and you're rooting for them, like, God, I'm going to get his name, like, K on Twitter is a great, and Kian. I was afraid to butcher his name. There's a lot of, like I said, and I mean, I spent more times in the 90s going to baseball games in Detroit than Cleveland because I couldn't get tickets locally. So we'd go up there and visit family.
Yeah, fair.
So I love that, the old Tiger Stadium and the cages in particular. But yeah, I definitely kind of had some Schadenfreude this weekend or this week, and so far what's going on with the Tigers. So now that I've said that, watch Cleveland get swept in 4 games because that's the way things work. But
yeah,
right now it is nice. Friday was rough, and I mean, I feel like I at least have to show. I feel like Saturday counts for a rally dino appearance.
We're doing the Rally Cat this year. I thought it was the Rally Cat.
I mean, we'll see if she makes an appearance. I feel like someone has way too much time on their hands. It feels like every time she shows up, they've won the next game. I feel like she has a high.
You better find her tonight.
I don't know. I don't know. Normally she's over here. I don't even know where she is right now. She's hanging out upstairs, so that doesn't bode well for tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, this was just a fun weekend series. Lots of big hits. It was a fun weekend
overall. I mean,
it was. But I mean, for a team where so many people, ourselves included, have been worried about offense, like they were on the bases all weekend long. The young guys played well. A lot of players we've been worried about. Is the bottom going to fall out? It still hasn't happened. Like, there's a lot of players performing really well. And it leads, I was talking before we started. It's like I do the 3 stars of the game. You can go and find that it's linked in my Twitter bio. And I do it for every single game. I do the box score bingo as well in there. And last year it felt like it was only like 4 or 5 guys. And this year it's just so much more spread. There's so many more players contributing. We're seeing just more and more players step up, which gives you a better feel for this team because of the fact that, a year ago they were so you had to count on 1 or 2, 3 guys. And this year there's just so much more depth in that lineup.
There really is. The run differential is now spread out. I think it's plus 16 now. So that's not that really matters in the end because the Guardians still had a negative run differential last year and they won the division. So thanks for that, Detroit. But no, this is a really good series. I mean, I think it's so important for Kyle Manzardo to get things going. Like he has been the guy in the lineup. I know we need Jose to get going too. And he did this weekend, as I predicted. I'm going to point that out.
You did.
He does love himself the Ohio Cup. So Jose agrees with me on the Ohio Cup. But Kyle Manzardo has been really important because when Jose was hitting third, Manzardo was really struggling and really getting no support. Manzardo was not doing a whole lot. And I would say it didn't just start this weekend. There were a couple of games against the Angels and in the last week in general. The month of May for Manzardo has actually been really good. The month of May, because you were just talking about May stats, Jeff, off the air. Month of May for Kyle Manzardo, not including his 2 home runs today. So this is going to go way up. But it is coming into Sunday, 282, 364, 462 with the 134 WRC plus, a strikeout rate of 20%, a walk rate of 11%. That's the Kyle Manzardo this team needs. And that's only going to get better for Sunday's performance. If you have, move Quan out of the leadoff spot, we'll get to that later in the show. But if you have Jose doing what he did this weekend, 6 hits, a steal, a homer, a double. You have DeLauder who finally homered and still taking his walks, even when he's not hitting for power. And then you get Manzardo going, and then Angel, we'll talk about him. That's a really nice piece of the lineup. And Rocchio's done a great job down at the 9 spot. That doesn't even mention Bazzana, who's been good. Hoskins this month has been fantastic outside of batting average, but that's not what he's here for. David Fry is contributing. This offense has pieces. Like this offense has I'm not saying they're going to be like top 10 or top 5, but they could be, closer to the top third of the league in offense. They have the pieces to do it. They really do. And this is for a later show, but they're going to have some trade assets this summer. There are going to be players in this system that are going to be in demand if the Guardians want to go out in the trade market. And Jeff, again, this is getting into the future, but we talked about, well, who are they going to trade with? Because everyone's trying to contend. And right now, there are actually teams out there that are really struggling that might be selling come August 3rd. So Guardians are in a good spot right now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to look at what some of those teams are. Like I said, that's for another day. But, right now I'm just enjoying the fact that the bullpen is, I was texting you. It's the other day. I'm like, that second lefty might be the biggest need depending on how things go. But it's like, if you get another really tough pitcher in that bullpen, that stands out for this team. But, if Angel
Andrew Miller, come on down.
If Angel, I'm not even saying he has to keep up his torrid pace, but like if he can keep the valleys shorter and the peaks the same, then he's going to be an everyday guy for you. And then, no matter what happens, let's be honest, Quan's probably your center fielder for the rest of the year. And even if he doesn't bring it offensively, he's still doing it defensively. Chasing right, knock on this particle board that he can continue to stay healthy. You look at that infield. We talked about Manzardo getting on track. We talked about Bazzana is clearly at second base. Rocchio, for all my doubts, is doing it at shortstop. Jose is Jose. Like catcher, it's going to be what it is. But they went out and got a defensive guy, and Hoskins is a bit above league average this year by offensive metrics. So it's crazy. Like a year ago, we talked about this team being one of the worst historically in baseball. And now it's like what a few young players and then a few other young players stepping up can do. Now, again, it's going to come down to that sustainability, and we'll have to see, who keeps it up. But the nice thing is, you mentioned those trade assets, like some of them could also be major league assets with where they are and how they're performing in the minors. If Rocchio doesn't sustain, if Martinez doesn't sustain, things like that, even if those happen, I'm not saying they will, I'm not predicting that, but even if it happens, they have that depth. And I finally have to begrudgingly say, for all my complaining this offseason, it's like, okay, I get why they didn't bring in a vet. Like they got Hoskins because he was willing to accept a role. Right. I'd rather have Hoskins and a guy who's willing to accept a role than a Austin Hayes who was not. Like I can now I can see the big picture because they kept Chase DeLauder on this roster, because they were quick to bring up Travis Bazzana. They're weirdly all in for a team that didn't spend. And, you know, as you talked about, yeah, we'll talk as we get closer. If they're contending and maybe, you know, on how falls apart, again, not saying it will, but it's like those trade pieces will make it so they can go out and fill that void in another way. And they'll have the flexibility to do that, as opposed to giving someone like Austin Hayes, like $8 million a year. Now you can use that to help acquire talent later, because by the midway point, you're only paying for half of that salary.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to go out and bring some guys in. Like they wanted to bring Lane Thomas back. They talked to a couple of their outfielders this offseason, and nobody thought
tried to trade for Taylor Ward.
Yeah, they tried to trade for Taylor Ward. So they went out and tried to do things, but for the most part, they wanted to have the kids playing. And, you know, so far it's hard to argue with that, with the way things have gone. It just, they still have, you know, a few pieces to fill. We'll talk more about that. Lineup changes. I got some home run history for Jeff to take a test on. I want to talk about 2016 rivalries because, you know, we got to talk about the important Ohio Cup. The NBA playoffs. Oh boy, the Cavs are moving on to the Eastern Conference Finals. Every possession is going to matter. And if you're looking closer to the action, FanDuel has a great offer to get you started. We've talked about it before. If you are a new customer of FanDuel, you can get $150 in bonus bets by just putting $5 down and turning that $5 $150 in bonus bets for getting started on FanDuel. Let's look at the Guardians against the Tigers on Monday. The Tigers are getting 1.5 runs, so the Guardians not the favorites in that game. The over-under is 8.5, so that'll be very interesting to see. I feel like with the way the offense is going and the way Detroit's not hitting right now, that might get kind of close. I want to look at the NBA too, because now I'm curious myself about the Cavs. You know, are they still favored to go to the NBA Finals? They are not favorites against the Knicks. They are plus 2,000 to win the East. The Knicks are plus 550. So maybe get in on that. So head over to FanDuel to get started. FanDuel, play your game. And it is summer, and one of the favorite flavors of summer, of course, is cotton candy. If you have a sweet tooth, you know I do. I talk about it all the time. It is tough to find a treat in the summer or all year without the sugar and the guilt. That is why the Cotton Candy 5-Hour Energy Shot brings back the flavor we all love in the summer with nostalgic flavor in a whole new way. So you get the cotton candy taste with the tasty caffeine boost, zero sugar, and an easy way that satisfies your sweet tooth craving while making things simple on the go. It's going to be quite the week, right? We're going to have the Cavs starting the NBA Eastern Conference Finals this week. Big series for the Guards in Detroit. Going to need a lot of energy to stay up and watch all these Cleveland sports this week. I'm going to need a boost, and I want to do it with something tasty and flavorful. It reminds me of summer, so bring on the sweetness of the Cotton Candy 5-Hour Energy Shots. Available online now at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon. Hit up the Everydayer Club if you're here with us every single day. That gets you access to ad-free episodes of the show on your favorite audio platforms, as well as the private Discord chat that we have with Jeff, myself, other listeners of the show, and other Locked On Guardian or Locked On hosts and their fans as well. So you can go and talk smack to Locked On Pistons, Locked On Tigers all week in those Discords. That is the link in the show notes, or lockedonguardians.supercast.com to come hang out. Plus, I know I promised them and the insiders at the subtext group, which that link is also here too, that we will do a insiders video chat coming soon. I just need to find time to schedule it. Things came up last Thursday, and tonight was the Cavs, so it was kind of hard to make the time for it. But Jeff, it's time for you to take a test. The school year is almost over, but that means it's time for you to have to see if you can pass some baseball tests. Are you ready?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a bunch of IEPs to write, so I'm taking my own test right now. But yeah, I can fail these. I'm ready to fail. This is gonna be back when Joe used to have his trivia show, and I would go on and just get spanked by some guys older than me. I made it to the finals once, and lost on a question about the kid from Cleveland, which I had never heard of until that moment.
Fair enough. Not to be fair, I don't think I would have gotten these questions right myself. So this is a very hard test. Let's start with this one. The last time the Guardians hit 6 home runs at home was April 30th, 2013. They had 6 home runs on Sunday. They haven't done that since 2013. Can you name any of the players in that lineup? Just name them off. I'm not going to give you any hints. I'm just going to see if you can name players and see how many you get.
I'm so bad. What was the year again? I'm sorry.
2013. It was April 30th, 2013 was the last time they had 6 home runs at home.
So bad at like people will be shocked at how bad I am at remembering players from lineups and things like 2013. So I have to go back 12 years. If I think back 12 years ago, that was
13 years.
13 years ago. That was my okay. So that was the second summer after I left New York City. Let's see. That would
play along with us if you can do it and comment for sure.
Santana.
Santana
right?
was in there. Yes,
Santana's in there.
He actually caught that game to start.
Yeah, as I say, he was probably still there. But here's how bad it goes. For a second, part of me was tempted to say Casey Blake. Then I'm like, wait, no, they got Santana for Casey Blake. That doesn't work at all. But 2013, Brantley.
Yes, Brantley led off. Yeah.
Stubbs.
He was the 9 hitter. He had 3 hits that day. No homers, but he had 3 hits. Oh, he had a home run that day, actually. He was one of them.
Yes, they had Stubbs and Brantley, and they had another center fielder out there. Was that Bourne?
He was there, but he didn't play that day.
Okay.
Swisher
Swisher
played center field. Swisher was there, but he didn't play that day.
Okay. That was we had Kipnis up by that point, right? Yep.
Yeah, 2013. Yeah. He was
Kipnis.
there. Yeah.
So Chisenhall.
Chisenhall was in the lineup. Yes.
Let's see. Is that still Asdrubal at shortstop?
Sure was. Yeah.
I don't. Matt Laporta DHing. I have no idea. I can't.
No.
I'm out at this point.
That'd have been Jason Giambi in the lineup.
Oh, I forgot about.
You forgot Mark Reynolds, who on April 30th, 2013, had 8 homers and was hitting 301, 368.
So I did better than I thought I would. I did better than I thought I would. I got to be honest. You forgot
Ryan Rayburn. You forgot Ryan Rayburn.
Well, I mean,
for those,
for
those playing at home too, I'll give you this one too. They did that off of Roy Halladay. They had 4 home runs off the bullpen. They had 3 home runs off of Roy Halladay. He only went 3 2/3 innings. They crushed Roy Halladay that day, and Zach McAllister started that game. All right, quiz number 2. Angel Martinez is closer to breaking the 20 home run outfield drought than Chase DeLauder. He's got 9. DeLauder now has 7. Or is that 8 by Angel now? Did I get that wrong? Is that 8? I got to look it up.
Is he at 8 now?
He's at 9. Sorry, he's at 9. So he's 11 away from being the first Guardians outfielder since 2014. Michael Brantley did 20 home runs in a year, but Chase finally hit a home run, so he's got 7 now. He's 13 away. So now somebody asked me this on Twitter. I'm going to pose it to you. We know Michael Brantley was the last outfielder to hit 20 home runs for the Guardians. What was the last year the Guardians had 2 outfielders that hit 20 home runs? And can you name the names? You got to file way back in the Rolodex for this.
Oh, I got to go way back. I was like, is it a Sizemore year?
No. So it didn't do it in a Sizemore year. I will tell you, 2009, Grady Sizemore, I believe they had 2 years that came very close. It came very close those years. I did tweet it earlier today, so don't go looking on Twitter and be a cheater.
Yeah, I feel like, was it like Franklin Gutierrez had like 16 or 17 one year, didn't he?
You're in the wrong era right now. So in 09,
he played with Sizemore a little bit, but I guess maybe not enough.
The two closest they got was 06 when Sizemore had 28 and Casey Blake had 19, your guy. And then 2009, Sizemore was hurt, only had 18, and then Chu had 20. So you got to go back further than that era.
So that means you're probably going back to something like the late 1990s, I would guess, because how bad things were.
You're close.
It's actually before. Is it Matt Lawton? No, I'm kidding.
That'd be hilarious. It was Matt Lawton. Gosh.
Matt Lawton and Alex Escobar, because that trade worked out, and we're going to go back and change it.
That was
We've got a quantum computer, and we are going to change that. I don't know. I don't want to he and ha and waste people's time, so I'll kick it and move on.
2001, was the last time the Guardians had two primary outfielders hit 20 or more home runs. And actually, they had 3 that year. They had Juan Gonzalez, who was there on a 1-year deal. Marty Cordova and Russell Branyan both hit 20 that year.
Yeah,
So the
Cordova
Guardians
started hot and then trailed off.
Oh, yeah, he did. So the Guardians have not had 2 20 home run hitting outfielders in 25 years. We're talking a quarter of a century. I know this is going to be a hot take. I think both Lada and Angel Martinez are going to do it. I think they're going to have 2 20. We were talking about just getting 1 20 home run hitter in the outfield this year. I think they're going to get 2. I can't see outside of injury how those guys don't hit 11 more and 13 more.
I mean, I can. We just now I'll be the wet blanket that annoys everyone. But it's like, well, barring injury, it's Chase has hit not, and I'm not going to count the Sacramento one because it's the Sacramento environment help, but he's had 2 home runs in a month and a half.
April. Yes,
so that's, and he's still playing great. He's just not hitting into him as much. And then with Angel,
I think I'll come back around.
His chase and his walk rate are pretty bad, and his profile screams like his hard hit isn't high enough. He's not whiffing, and he's barreling, which is barreling. Good, but you need to have the barrel with a consistent hard hit. Like we've talked about how there's essentially 3 tiers guys fall in, and Martinez still doesn't fall in that tier. So while I'm like, okay, he's earned his playing time, just let him go. I am dubious of his ability to maintain, because with the chase being over 40%. Just why throw him anything even remotely in the zone? His chase is crazy high. Well, I think teams will start to adjust.
He had a very good weekend with that. He did earn himself pitches in the zone. It'll be streaky, but I think there's, like you said before, I think there's enough peaks in there.
And it's very possible. I'm just giving the reasons why not. We always give the reasons why and the reasons why not. I'm saying you could still be wondering.
All right, let us know in the comments. Let us know who you think. If you think it's going to be both, 1, none, I think both are going to do it. Jeff isn't sure. He's not bold enough to say one way or the other. I'm going to say right now on May 18th that they're going to do it. All right, we got to talk about the bullpen this weekend, some starting pitching as well. We got to talk about lineup changes, and I also want to talk about letting people enjoy moments and some confidence going into Detroit, because the Guardians are ahead in the Ohio Cup.
But first, I have to reach over here and grab my friend, the Rally Dinosaur, because it's time to talk about bones. ED is way more common than most guys think. Millions of guys deal with it at some point, and that's exactly why HIMS offers a straightforward way to handle it. HIMS connects you with a licensed healthcare provider. They wouldn't give any to him because he's not alive, giving you access to legitimate ED treatment options from the comfort of your home. No awkward appointments, no pharmacy, no lines, just a straightforward process that might make it easier to take care of yourself. You know what? Guardians, maybe they did take my advice and got some HIMS, because those bats were loaded and exploded all over the place all weekend long. I think that they maybe decided to take some advice, call HIMS. Those bats went from a little limp to fully torpedoed. To get simple online access, personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/LockedOnMLB. That's hims.com/LockedOnMLB for your free online visit. hims.com/LockedOnMLB. Prescription required. See website for details and important safety information. Sildenafil is a generic version of Viagra. Viagra is a registered trademark of Viatris Specialty LLC. HIMS is not affiliated with nor endorsed by Viatris.
The Guardians using torpedo bats, 216-57. Okay, we're not going to do that here.
Oh, God, like the sad thing is, like, I could remember that number from my childhood. As you started on, I'm like, I could complete that line. Like, I may not remember the lineups from 2013, but I definitely, I was that kid who would sit there. I had my radio next to the TV, and I remember listening to games because I didn't have cable, and like playing Dragon Warrior, like on my Nintendo, like things like that. Like that's how old I am, that I can remember playing my Nintendo and listening to the radio with Herb Score as a kid. So
yeah, let's go there real quick for a second with memories, because they were honoring the 2016 this weekend, 2016 team. I know I posted a short video on it, so we're not gonna sit here and dwell on it too much, but it was a fun weekend. It was great to see all those guys from 2016 and remember that run. And we talked a little bit about it on Friday about what our favorite memories were, and a lot of people had great comments on it as well. But I saw a lot of people who were like, I don't understand why we're celebrating this. They didn't win the World Series. And if that's how you feel, that's fine.
I hate that point of view.
I do too. And if that's how you feel, that's fine.
Yes.
But I don't like people. I don't like people saying, why should anybody celebrate? Yeah, I saw a lot of attitude this weekend about why should anybody celebrate. Cleveland in general shouldn't be celebrating this. Again, I had a great time in 2016. It didn't end how we wanted. I was crushed. I think it was the first time I ever like deactivated my Twitter for like a week because I just was so bummed out. I didn't talk to anybody at work the next day. I was bummed. But as I got older, like, yeah, I my dad passed away before seeing a World Series team. I'm bummed about that for sure. It would have been great to share with him, but we went to a lot of games that year. We went to a lot of games over the years. We had a lot of great memories, and I don't know, to me, that stuff still matters. Like I can still appreciate the journey and be disappointed in the destination, but doesn't overtake the fact that I spent 7 great months that year watching Guardians baseball and had a lot of fun and, went ballistic the moment that Davis hit that home run. So again, if you feel that way, you don't want to relive it because of how it ended, that's fine. That's your perspective on things, but don't tell other people that they can't enjoy it because I don't know. I'm just not a championship robust person and I don't like fan police and fandom's not rational. So I just think it's silly that anybody like was talking down or saying that it doesn't make sense to celebrate those things. If people want to, if it was good memories for people outside of that, if there was memories you enjoyed that, were important in your life, then you should celebrate that.
No, I agree. Like, it just seems so silly to me that like you can't enjoy things, right? Like, I mean that I'm going to remember, we've already established, I don't remember a lot of things, but I'll remember that Rajai Davis home run and the cameraman falling over for the rest of my life. Like that's going to be one of the home runs of my lifetime. That's right up there with the Albert Bell Grand Slam at my first game at Jacobs Field as a kid, where they tied it, or was that to beat the Angels? Like the big comeback against the Angels. I was lucky enough.
Oh, Lee Smith, yeah.
Yeah, like I was there.
Smith, yeah.
We had upper deck seats, and my mom was afraid of heights. So instead, we stood in standing room the whole game. So that was my first time ever back when it was Jacobs Field. It's like, those two are the home runs that stand out. And I am not a destination needs to be the only thing. Like if destination is the only thing, I feel like that I don't want to hang out with you. Like if you only care about the destination, you don't sound like fun. Like I've had a lot of great nights where like the best part of the night with friends in college and stuff is the process of getting to the end. Like the end isn't always even the best thing, but it's the hanging out, it's the talking, it's the, just having those moments. Like that's what matters. And I think that sometimes we see this perspective with people, I think just A, don't like baseball, or B, spend more time being negative than positive, which I know there'll be people in the comments being like, but you're Mr. Negative. And then I also will have the people in the comments saying, oh, he's just always too sunny. So I don't know what I am, but
you're in the middle, clearly.
But you don't have to, because feel what you want to feel. I'm not trying to tell you how to feel. I just think it's really crappy to try to tell other people like, oh, don't enjoy the thing you enjoy because I think it's not worth it. But yeah, I don't think I want to hang out with anyone who is a destination only. Like I have more fun on journeys than destinations. I am that person who we go crazy at the holidays, right? Like we do all this stuff. I enjoy the lead up to Christmas more than Christmas itself. I am that person. I always enjoy that. I enjoy the trip more than the end. So I can't even understand that mindset on any level.
Yeah. All right, let's speed run all the other things we want to talk about too, since we derailed there. But I know Tanner Bybee didn't pitch all that great in the second inning on Friday, and that was disappointing. But he was good otherwise, and I just feel bad for the guy because like they didn't score any runs until he was out of the game, and it's just like at this point, all the run scoring was Saturday and Sunday. So what a bummer there. I still don't like Stephen Vogt putting Peyton Pallette in that game down 2 on Friday. I think if you use any other reliever. Yeah, you win that game if you use any other reliever. I just don't understand that. Not that I don't want Pallette off the team. I know a lot of people were saying like time for Pallette to go. It's not right now. I mean, Sean Armstrong might be back on this road trip, so it's gonna be interesting to see who goes down. If it is Hewer, who had a great debut on Sunday, I think it'll be Hewer going down. But Paulette's a guy I only want to use when you're like up 5 or down 5. I'm not a guy I want to use with a 2-run deficit or a 2-run lead. I just at this point like I'm not ready to be there. Holderman's been great. I think it's also great, Jeff, that on Sunday, Sobrowski and Gaddis were both good this weekend. Not really a surprise for Sobrowski. Gaddis is getting back into it, but so great on Sunday, by the way. You didn't have to use Sobrowski or Gaddis or Kate Smith. That's a beautiful thing going into Detroit, especially with your offense feeling confident. Detroit's not playing well. And of course, they feel really good about, having a leg up in the Ohio Cup. All they got to do is win the next series against the Reds, and they secure the Ohio Cup. Obviously,
So what was that? Ohio Cup? Sorry, I hear the words Ohio Cup. I start zoning out.
It's right there.
Why is there a bunch of hot dogs surrounding a trophy? I just don't understand why there's a bunch of hot dogs surrounding a trophy. It doesn't.
216-578. Who do you think is the most outstanding player of the Ohio Cup so far?
It'd be Gabby Arias because he got to skip it.
Jesus. Jeff is just never going to.
Hey, that's not bad. We're getting ready to go on air, and I'm like, okay, I gotta figure out something for my shtick. We're literally, as Justin is we're starting the podcast, so we had a discussion, and I was able to live up to the shtick. So
quickly, let's ask about this. And by the way, people who are saying this year the Guardians have a bad bullpen, or they frustrate the bullpen. Cade's been better. Eric's been great. Gaddis is getting better. Holderman's been awesome. Hannah's a little bit shaky. Festa, whatever. You want to see a bad bullpen? Look at the Reds. Their bullpen is miserable.
Or the Tigers.
The Tigers bullpen also bad. I'm not gonna feel bad for them. Sorry. We could probably get into it more on Tuesday, but two things I wanted to talk about here was rivalries. It was rivalry weekend in MLB, but the Guardians are going to Detroit. I feel like the Tigers are more of a rival right now than the Reds. And
yes.
I know it's interstate, but rivalries also have a lot to do with how teams are playing. It's not necessarily geographic. So it's I want to talk about more of that tomorrow when we have more time. And I know we got to talk about Kwan moving down to 6 in the order and why it's not Bazzana. I think it should be Bazzana. And I've liked what Schneemann has contributed to the team this year. But Jeff, in the month of May, Daniel Schneemann has a 37 WRC plus. I don't think he's the guy that should be leading off. If it's not going to be Bazzana, I think it needs to be Angel.
The only thing I could think is since early April, he actually has the highest WRC plus on the team, which speaks more of how good he was in April and how poor he's been in May. But that's about
right.
I mean, and he runs well, but that's about the only reasons I could think. And he works counts. He'll see some.
He does. Angel is not really.
Angel's not going to do. I kind of like right now. If Angel's hot, keep him in the 5 hole. Put him there because he can do some damage. 5.
Move Bazzana up.
Move Bazzana. Bazzana just makes too much sense. He just makes. It should be him.
It should be Bazzana. It should be Bazzana. Vote's reasoning was, he was saying we like him in the 5 hole because he can get on base, behind somebody, and he can drive in runs, and he can run right there. And I get that. It lengthens your lineup a little bit, but I don't even mind Angel or Schneemann at 5 because clearly Angel has some pop, right? He's finding that, and he pulls the ball in the air. If you go look at Savannah's, his pull air rate's really good. And Schneemann's got pop. So I think that those guys can do things in the 5 hole, and Bazzana can get on base. And I love Jose hitting too. I'm so glad it worked out this weekend. I hope it sticks. Bazzana, Jose, DeLauder. And if you get Manzardo going and then you just have one of Angel and Schneemann hitting 5, Rocchio's doing his job at 9. You've got the makings of a really exciting lineup. So I know they don't want to throw too much at Bazzana too soon, but it's DeLauder hit second in his second game in the playoffs. And Stephen Kwan, it didn't take him long to lead off, right? Remember Miles Straw started 2022 as the leadoff hitter, and it didn't take long for Kwan to take that spot from him. I don't see why Bazzana can't get there.
No, I agree. I think you're exactly right on that. And he's been super impressive in this short time. He's already up to half a win in 23 games. Just to give you a counter example, if I was to go look at the Pirates, Connor Griffin is at 0.8 and.
But Jeff, I thought the Guardians
games.
Completely missed on that pick. They missed on a generational talent.
He's Bazzana is. I'm sorry, and Bazzana. That's only in 6.
Fire the front office for not.
That's only in 16 games. I don't know. I saw the wrong thing. So in roughly a third of the games, he has more than half the same WAR.
No, the front office
go
has
ahead
to be fired for that pick.
And
be fired.
And put him in the lineup. He might be a young player, but I think he's ready for it.
No, the front office should be fired for picking Bazzana over Connor Griffin or Jack Caglione. Obviously, that's the main takeaway here. No, the Guardians are feeling good. Again, they have the most important thing. They are a leg up in the Ohio Cup, but feeling good going to Detroit. Big series ahead. The only thing I don't like about flipping Cantillo and Gavin, and the Guardians said it basically has to do with matchups. The only thing that stinks about that is now Gavin will not pitch against Detroit this week. It'll be Slate's Coney and Framber Valdez. That's going to be an interesting game. Parker Messick, Keter Montero, Tanner Bybee in a bullpen game, and then Joey Cantillo and Casey Mize. But just split the series. I mean, the Detroit stinks right now.
The one thing else, just go ahead.
I was going to say, just go in there and split the series. Just go to Detroit and take 2.
One thing I'll say is in the month of May, Dylan Dingler has been solid and Riley Green has been utterly fantastic and everyone else has been terrible. Riley Green historically has pretty bad splits. So that might be the only logic of like the only guy in Detroit who's hitting right now is Riley Green. And like I said, Dingler is as well. And isn't Dingler also a lefty? Am I wrong in my head?
No, Dylan Dingler's a righty.
Yeah, McGonagall's cooled off. Drafting him back in the day. But you know, Dylan Dingler and the next best hitter, Matt Burling, has an 83 WRC plus. McGonagall isn't hitting 200 in the month of May. We'll talk about this more tomorrow. So they're kind of scuffling as a team across the board. So you know, maybe there's some logic in that regard. But you know, we'll have plenty to discuss. We're already pushing it today. We'll have plenty to discuss the rest of this week. Absolutely.
Come back tomorrow. Guardians, Tigers, the Battle of Detroit, kicking Detroit while they're down continues. And we got to talk about the prospects, Jeff. My goodness, the home run derby in the minor leagues on Sunday too in the minors.
It's Luke Hill, Ralphie Velasquez. Go check out their box scores. We'll talk about that more tomorrow as well. Thank you all for joining us. Hopefully I did not jinx this team. Again, I will predict an 0-4 with my recent history just to keep the streak alive. Thank you all, and go Guardians, go.
Clean.